Let's go.
Oh my God, the quarterback is toast. Hit it again. Hit it again.
Let's go.
Hit it again. Hit it again. Oh my God, the quarterback is toast. Hit it again.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to tonight's show. I got my special guest in the house here, going old school Cowboys huddle tonight here with my boy Footsdaking. What's going on, Foots?
Joe, it's always a pleasure to rock with you. You know that. I'm a fan of your work, and it's, as OTAs go, we're getting closer to real football, so this is cool.
Yeah, definitely closer to football. Pretty much we got, these OTAs. Next week we got Minicamp, and then we got, the dreaded dead zone. So, but then you got training camp, right around the corner. So it's only a few weeks of dead zone there at the end of June and early July that you got to get through. But right now, Foots, lots of news to cover about the OTAs, Cowboys, as far as like the building blocks for this team. Where are we at? And I saw your video that you did here the other day about the OTAs. I just want to pick your brain on some of these topics that we're going to talk about today. But we'll cover some of the biggest news here that came out here today. Jalen Tolbert, Foots, the wide receiver, on the sidelines for a couple of weeks here now. Finally got out there, making plays and made a touchdown reception out here in OTAs. How big is that for you, Foots? Talking about Jalen Tolbert, who we think should be an impact wide receiver for the Cowboys.
I always say, Joe, any football activity, you'd rather be doing something good than bad. And I think when you look at a guy like Jalen Tolbert, South Alabama receiver, had opportunities to go to bigger schools, right? So this isn't a guy who just is a small school gem and is a player that, well, maybe he can catch on, maybe he can. He's not a TJ Vasher. He's not a semi. No, he has real juice. You can see it in his film. You can see it when he went to the Senior Bowl. I mean, he's running past guys who have aspirations of being NFL corners, and he's setting them up. He's double moving them. He's winning in the red zone. And I think this is part of the reason why Dak advocated for the player. And then, first practice, hey, you rather score a touchdown and have a drop. And that's really the league. It's like either you have it or you don't.
No, that's well said, Foots. I agree, man. This is it's good to see him out there and like you said, making touchdowns, not fumbling and bumbling the ball here. Now, I did a video a couple of weeks ago, and I thought I talked about one of my concerns right now as we stand right here going into the season is your wide receiver and your depth. How do you feel about the wide receiver group right now, Foots, as far as like who we have, projected starters, depth guys?
Joe, I think it's a little early to be concerned, but I see why you would feel that way because you start having guys, okay, not practicing. And right here's what you want. You want Jalen Tolbert to be ahead of his years, ahead of his progression, and win really receiver 2, right? Yeah. So if CD's 1 and you hear that, hey, CD's already lining up a lot in the slot, they want to use him as a mismatch, and I'm okay with that, right? But you want Jalen to be a guy that they depend on as a receiver 2, 3, and I wouldn't say beat out James Washington, but he needs to beat out Simi and guys like Vasher and even Noah Brown. Like that's who he needs to get in front of. And honestly, when you look at the skill set of Jalen Tolbert, I think that he will.
Absolutely. And if he can't, they screwed that pick up. But I feel like they did. I feel like they did the right pick for it. So I'm good. I'm happy about that. And speaking about Dak Prescott, you're kind of hearing some reports here that he's having a little bit more of an influence on, you know, types of players that he wants on the team. You know what I mean? Do you think there's something to that as far as like, getting with, the coach or the coaches, and this sort of thing having an influence on who he wants to be out there with him?
I think that Dak has earned that. For whatever I may think of Dak, for whatever the league may think of Dak, Dak is a very consistent quarterback who's gotten it done more times than not. Obviously, he does need to get the play. Dak needs to get the playoff monkey off his back, but he's a really good quarterback, a top, however you want to rate it. He's somewhere in the top 12, top 10 area, depending on what you're looking at. There's teams that would kill to have Dak Prescott. I believe that the offense needs to be catered to him. I think that him, Kellen, Mike need to come up with a system, a scheme that makes sense. And I think that if Dak wants a certain type of player in Joe, yes. Listen, the good thing, let's take Tolbert, for example. Tolbert is not a one-trick pony. He could play in the slot. He could play on the edge. And he has someone after the catch ability. But I think the reason why Dak likes him is because of how smart he is, how IQ. They say that he already is in the playbook and that he already has a feel. I think that's the type of thing that Dak probably said, hey, guys, if you're choosing between him and maybe Pickens, this is your guy. And so, because, players have a feel as well. So I agree.
Dude, Foots, I'm actually glad that we went with Tolbert over Pickens, honestly. I mean, we'll see what Pickens is, but I think Tolbert is a lot more complete wide receiver. You know what I mean? So the other big part of today's news, or this is an ongoing storyline here, is our first round pick, Tyler Smith. Foots. Let's talk about him. You're seeing the progression that you want to see from your first round pick, from rookie OTAs to now the combined OTAs, and now, building positive practices in these combined OTAs, right? So you're hearing that he is, taking some snaps there now at left tackle, and you're seeing Connor McGovern at left guard. So what's your thoughts on, is this a preview of is this a contingency plan that you think the Cowboys are kind of looking at to see, we're probably going to at some point lose Tyron. So this is probably the configuration that we're going to go with in the season. Tyler Smith at left, McGovern at left guard. Do you think this is something that they're looking at?
So I think everybody is pleasantly surprised at just how good Tyler Smith is.
Yeah.
Number one. And it starts with his build. I think that people really are going to be surprised at just how big he is. Like, literally, he's a big human being. And I saw that. I noticed that when I saw him stand next to Micah. And so when you watch the film and you watch what he was asked to do at Tulsa, you say, wow, was this guy just that type of an athlete to where when you have a guy that's so dominant and so physically strong and so physically opposing, that is not that you don't coach him hard, but you just say, he's been getting by the way he's been doing it. We'll just leave him alone because he's just a dominant player. And he gets to the league, and now he's getting real coaching. Now he's getting real drill work. Now he's asked to do certain things. But as things slow down, it's like, hey, he's still going to be able to be physical. That's what he was drafted to do. That's what he does. He's still going to be able to put his hands on you. I mean, the hand placement thing is literally muscle memory. The kid's 21. That technique can be taught over a 3-month period, and you drill it and you keep working the feet and mirroring the feet and the hands. You can get them right, Joe. Like, that's what your development doesn't stop when you get to the league. And so, yeah, I think he's penciled in as your starter at guard. He's bigger than McGovern. He's stronger than McGovern. He's a nastier player. He has what you can't coach. But these valuable reps at tackle now are important because we know that Tyron's going to lay down.
Yeah. No, it's the truth, man. It's something that I'm comfortable with too. You know what I mean? I feel that he you know, Tyler Tyler Smith is already, you know, 5, 10 times better than what McGovern would be. But my concern is if they do go with this configuration, during the season, we're like, oh, okay, we're gonna put Tyler here at left tackle and left guard. You're with McGovern. What do you want to see this this training camp, this preseason from McGovern to feel comfortable with that possible configuration? When if and when Tyron, has to leave for whatever injury he comes up with.
So that's a great point and thought, Joe. I honestly, it scares you because they're both young players, and McGovern already struggled at guard, so it's not like he's a shoo-in at guard. I mean, he couldn't beat out Connor Williams, so that's an issue. And for the projection that Tyler Smith has, he's still a young player, and he's gonna struggle at times. So that does concern me. You would have. It's tricky because you would like for Josh Ball to be farther along than I think that he is, but then we don't know because maybe they look at him as a right only, and I think they may look at, well, let's go as your swing.
Yeah.
Joe, I always have an answer for stuff. I don't have an answer for that, Joe, because I don't know, right?
Yeah, that, and then I'm with you on that too because I think it's kind of an unknown, but you kind of do have a little you do have some games of Connor McGovern, and they were just not that good, right? So it's like, is he going to be able to push that ceiling? Has he reached his ceiling, or can he push through and be something a little bit better than what he's been? Because that was not good. What I mean? So yeah, that would be my concern with that type of configuration. But this is the time of year, OTAs and minicamp, where you figure these things out, right? So I do like that they're doing this. Yeah, let me see what it looks like. You know what I mean? I do want to see what Tyler Smith looks like. And you hear Tyler Smith stoning some people. He's had wins against Micah, Dorrance, several people at left tackle, and then that's pretty impressive. Just on its own, merit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
The other thing here, Foots, that I want to talk about is the running back position, because we're talking about, Tony Pollard basically being in his contract year, right? But they're looking at him at wide receiver and this sort of thing, and I think maybe that's part of the attrition that they're having right now with wide receivers so banged up right now. Do you think that is why they're looking at him here, or do you think that they'll finally unleash him in some sort of wide receiver capacity this season?
With Tony, I just think you have to get him the football, and he has to be higher on the priority list. And I think the touches for Zeke have to decrease, and you can't worry about his. This isn't the Ezekiel Elliott Cowboys. I mean, I hate to say this, the Dallas Cowboys, the team game. You have to do what's best for the team. And so his touches have to decrease. And, I hear everybody with the injury. Zeke was my favorite player and still is one of my favorite players. But the truth is he's in year 6. He's going into year 6, correct, Joe? He's a running back. And those guys just, as the years go on, they take so much punishment. And Zeke took a lot of punishment. You look at year 2016, 30 carries a game, 25 carries a game, 28 carries a game. I mean, just the wear and tear on his body alone, Joe. And so now he's trying to fight through injuries, and he looks good. He does look good out there. He looks trim. He doesn't look like he's out of shape, but it's still going to be hard for Zeke to muster up a 17-game season with a lot of juice. You need to have a guy like Tony Pollard in there. When he takes the ball, when he touches the ball, it just looks different, Joe. It hits harder. And so receiver, I don't want Kellen overthinking it, because here's another thing, and I think about this all the time. You don't have to put Kellen, you don't have to put Tony in that role. Just use CD in that role. Mm-hmm. CD is a great yak guy. Use him in that role. You don't have to put Tony in that role. So
yeah,
I just think that you just let Tony be Tony. And design runs for him. Like, he runs the ball between the tackles well. in swings and stuff. But as a true receiver, I think you have good receivers. They have to blossom a little bit, but I think you have good receivers.
Yeah. No, it's going to be interesting to see what the Cowboys do there and who steps up to be that number 3 running back, because I think you will need a number 3 at some point, especially if you want to, alleviate some of the snaps from both of them. You know what I mean? If you're going to increase the snaps for Pollard, and you don't want to overdo that either. So who will it be? I like Rico Dotto a lot, but the guy just cannot stay healthy. So then I'm looking at, what about some of the other guys underneath? You know what I mean? They didn't draft a running back. You know what I mean? So they brought in some guys here, undrafted. You know what I mean? And a couple of guys that they kept over from last year. So any thoughts on that, Foots, as far as like your number 3 running back here?
Dowdle is my guy. But let's see what happens in camp preseason. I mean, that job is going to be won in the preseason.
Yeah,
so
I think so too.
Yeah, and so just pick a name out of a hat. But and those guys really are there for injury in emergency situations.
Absolutely.
But I think what's crazy is I think that if Zeke were to get hurt, I think Dallas would still sign a vet. So,
I think that's what's going to happen. Let's talk about the defensive side of the ball. So today, we had some guys taking some I don't know, maybe like vet days or whatever, right? So, Jaron Curse, Kelvin Joseph, working the cords on the sideline, this sort of thing. Do you feel like there's going to be a legit competition there opposite Trayvon Diggs? Do you think it's going to be Diggs and Brown or Diggs and Joseph? What are you thinking? What are you hearing from what you've seen so far?
I just don't think that this team is going to part ways from Anthony Brown. For if nothing else, Joe, I don't know if they think that Boss Man is mature enough to really be somebody we can rely on, like game in and game out. Now, he has some flashes where he looked good, but the thing is, with the situation that happened in the offseason and with other things that you hear, I think Dallas wants him to win that job. But even if he won the job, I don't think that they will move on from Anthony Brown because they'll just kick him aside or they'll do certain things like that. I mean, AB, for everybody who wants to throw him off a bridge, AB has done some nice things for this team, and he's been pretty consistent now. Him getting beat by, Antonio Brown versus Tampa and, some of the games that he's given up big plays, I get it. But he's been more solid than he has given up plays. So that's just my opinion on it. You definitely would love it to be Kelvin on one side and Diggs on another. Because truthfully, as like a true man corner, Kelvin might be like a true step-for-step better man corner than Diggs. But I got to see it. I'm not going to go off college highlights and what he did against Alabama when he was coming out. I don't care about any of that. I got to see it and I want to see it in NFL reps with in NFL games and preseason whole nine.
Absolutely. That I'm with you 100% on that. That we got to see it here in the preseason, and we got to see him consistently on the field. You're kind of seeing this I don't know if you call it a pattern, but last offseason, supposedly, Broadus reported that he was out of shape. Took a while to get going. Maybe he's getting a vet day, but he's a year 2 player, so I don't know if I would really consider that a vet day. So that's kind of weird. So come on, let's get going, man. Because I'm with you. Like I think this team really is. I think they're going to go with Brown because of the trust. I think they definitely trust him more. Brown is deeper in his career. He's matured obviously. I almost feel like maybe Kelvin Joseph is still trying to figure things out, man. You know what I mean? So
totally.
Yeah, so I'm pulling for him though. I think he has all the traits, man. He has everything you want and a cornerback, but does this team trust him? You know what I mean? So let's see what he does in the preseason, and if he shows up, man, I'm hoping for that because that'll just be another weapon for the defense. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
The safeties, Hooker was out too, so Hooker and Curse, they have some time off here. What you have behind them, Foots, what's your comfort level there? You got Donovan Wilson, kind of not the most durable, Kwamu, and then some of these other guys. How do you feel about the depth at safety as we head towards minicamp and training camp?
So I do think that Malik Hooker is going to have a really good year. I was actually pleasantly surprised John only put something up about his play in the box. Hooker's a nice player, barring injuries, because he has had injury issues in the past. I remember covering him, Joe, when he came out from Ohio State. So, he was the top safety in that draft. I love our safety room. Guys like Marquise Bell have an opportunity. I don't think this team is married to Israel Mukuamu. I don't think this team is married to. I love Donovan Wilson, but I don't think they're married to Dono. And I think that Marquise Bell, I've never seen a guy have so much support from not just Twitter, but people who really follow the game. Mm-hmm. There are other podcasters who mention him as he was the best player in the HBCU circuit, and he can dominate in the NFL. And you hear all this, you hear that so many times when it comes to UDFAs, Joe. But I think with Donovan Wilson, it's real.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see on Marquise Bell where he stacks in here. He's definitely making the right plays. You know what I mean? So that's what those type of players need to do, right? They're already kind of behind, the depth chart, so they really have to go even more, that extra mile to really show up. So for him to be showing up right now, I think that bodes well for him. But he's got to keep that going, right? He's got to keep that going through training camp. And when the lights come on with the preseason games, some fans are like, oh, they don't mean anything. But, man, you will see some players freeze.
Oh, my God, Joe.
It happens all the time, right? Every year it happens. Man, they're so good in practice, training camp. But the preseason, oh, crap. Deer in the headlights type of stuff with some of these guys, and then they kind of disappear. But let's see how he does with that. I think that'll be his biggest test. First, let's talk about Dak Prescott, right? Year 7, Dak Prescott. Him and Zeke. Is this their last year together, or do they do something where they restructure Zeke and they keep him around? We'll see what happens there, right? The Cowboys have they do weird things with contracts, and we'll talk about Schultz here in a minute. But talking about Dak Prescott, Foots, Dak Prescott looking good out here, right? You're not seeing really the footage that you're seeing. You don't see some of that hitch, that Jalen Smith type of hesitation. You know what I mean? He looks pre-injury to me, Foots. What's your thought, and what have you heard as far as Dak Prescott here in these OTAs?
Oh yeah, man, I've heard some good things. Danny, I wasn't texting. I was looking up something on a play that on what's his name made, but getting some information that Tolbert made. Prescott, Zeke. I do think it's Zeke's last. I don't think that Zeke would restructure, but who knows? But I think that Dallas would. They need to move on. You can't get into this. I think the Patriots do the best job of dog, when it's over, it's over.
They do. Yep.
You don't want to start giving people these charity case vibes, Joe. That's how you get stuck, right?
Right. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
The Rams moved on from Todd Gurley, and 2 years later won a Super Bowl. When it's over, it's over, especially for that position. Breaking news, Dak's going to be here a lot longer than Zeke, y'all. I hate that. I hate to say it like that. So, Dak, he looks in shape. He looks sharp. I took for granted how hard it would be for him to really work back from that injury and really get back on his feet. He looks light. The biggest thing to me is he looks lighter. Joe, he looks lighter.
He does. Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, you're right there. What excites me about that, Foots, like what you're saying, he looks lighter, looks nimble on his feet again. I think that you're gonna be able to see them sell the RPO more. Last year,
Mhm.
nobody bought it, man. Nobody was like, he was kind of gimpy, right? He was kind of gimpy. Let's be real about it. They weren't biting on it. You know what I mean? I think with this rejuvenated Dak Prescott, they'll be able to sell this better. And this, you could have shades of 2016 where they sold that really good. I mean, they were hitting on all cylinders, but you got to have that O line. You got to have a capable running game to sell it to. So that
I
excites me
think
about Dak Prescott.
in two RPO, run pass option. The only way it works is if you keep it. You have to run the ball sometimes. So you're right, Joe. If there's
Yeah.
no threat of a run, that's what makes Lamar Jackson so dangerous, that he will run the ball.
Yeah.
Those backers have to be close, and you throw it right behind their ear. So yeah, I agree, Joe. And not only that, I think Dak he ran that system in college, so he gets it. But he does a good job of not taking big hits, and just running just enough. So, a healthy press, man, with some of these pieces, I like it. And that's what I want people to understand. The offense, did they lose a big weapon in Amari Cooper? 100%. But Michael Gallup and CeeDee Lamb, who, by the way, is ahead of schedule, Gallup and CeeDee Lamb are very good receivers. Very good, Joe.
Yeah, it is. And that's where I'm hoping that if you can weather those opening games, so those opening games are tough as hell. You got the Bucks, you got the Bengals who improved that O line, and you feel that if they had a better O line, they may have won that game against the Rams, right? They may have been able to hold off those Rams a little bit better. So that's gonna be a good game. But we have our own weapons, so we're gonna give them a good battle there. But wide receiver wise, right? If you can hold on until Gallup gets back, recharge, I think we'll be in good shape, Foots.
Correct.
Let's talk about Micah Parsons, Foots. Year two, Micah Parsons. I mean, he's picking up where he left off. You've heard him say in interviews that oh, what have you done? Have you gotten bigger? What he said, no, I'm the same. So I think that there's an advantage to that, keeping the speed, right? Like, sometimes you hear year two players, I bulked up 15 pounds of muscle, this and that. What do you think about that, Foots? Do you think that that's a good thing for Micah to stay where he's at his level of weight and in this sort of thing? Or do you think, maybe he should have got a little bit bigger? Like what's your take on that?
I don't think Micah should have got bigger for what. I mean, he's a 101 type player.
Yeah.
I
I agree.
I love what he said about, I want to make tackles fair, one move, be good at one thing and then build your repertoire of that. I believe that. I think that
Yeah.
there's merit to simplicity, Joe. His quickness, his athleticism, you see him hitting home runs out of the park. The guy's just a one-on-one athlete.
He
And
is.
so the only thing with Micah, the thing that I love is that he's still hungry. You could tell that he still wants to get after it. He loves his teammates. So the bulking up and all that. The thing about bulking up is I see why players do it because of the physical, the pounding that they may take or the physicalness. But in his position, the name of his game is speed.
Speed, yes.
Yeah,
That's right.
speed, twitch, change of direction. So
Yeah, I love that.
Not worried. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the same too because I don't know if it was, I forgot what reporter asked him that, but I loved his answer when he said that. He's like, I'm the same. They're gonna fear my speed and then work everything off that. Like speed, for that position, it's a tough thing to deal with. So I'm looking forward to year two, Micah. I mean, he's I feel like he's kind of almost the face of the Cowboys right now. Some people say it's Dak, but I kind of almost feel like it's Micah is right there, or maybe even is the face. I don't know. I mean, he's that good. That this guy is a game changer, a wrecking machine. Whatever you want to call it. And I don't think that whatever moves that the NFC East did is going to be enough. You know what I mean? I know the Giants they bolstered that O line. It's not going to be enough. This guy is unstoppable. I mean, he's like a cheat code, bro. Right? Like he
Yeah,
should be like the first ever Madden 100 rating, that kind of shit. So
he has the same juice as Aaron Donald, Von Miller,
yeah,
Khalil Mack before his injury,
you're right.
and Jalen Ramsey. Like just a one-on-one receiver, one-on-one defender. And again, I don't know why 11 teams or 10 teams passed on him. They didn't have their plan to Dan Quinn. And you can't take for granted how Dan Quinn uses him
There you go.
and how he wants to find him because, if he, I think he's what people thought Isaiah Simmons would be. That's what Micah Parsons is. I never forget when LeVar Arrington came out and said, man, he's the best athlete that I've seen since Sean Taylor. And people took offense to that. And then you fast forward to now, and it's like that statement had merit, Joe.
It had,
and so
yeah.
it had a lot of merit, and I just believe that, the skies. I think he knows he's it, and he knows that the franchise is depending on him, and I think he's going to continue to get better and just make plays. I think the biggest thing for him is that he already saw it and was locked in with games because if you remember, Joe. He was like the player, but he didn't start dominating games about week 4. That's when you saw like, okay, this guy can really do it.
Yeah, this guy could really do it. And I'm personally, Foots, I'm looking ahead, and we'll talk about this contract stuff that's coming up here, but you think about the Cowboys and how they treat these contracts. Are they going to pay him as a linebacker or are they going to pay him as an edge DE? You know what I mean? Like, I think this is going to get real crazy because the guy is going to be he's a superstar to me. You know what I mean?
He's a superstar, Joe.
What do they do with that? And that being said, let's close it out here with the Dalton Schultz, contract. So Dalton Schultz, it's not really a holdout because he's technically voluntary activities, right? So what is your thought on how the Cowboys are going to handle this? Is this just going to be a 1-year thing, or are they going to keep him? Like what's your gut feeling on where this is going to go with the Cowboys?
I think that Dalton Schultz can possibly get more money elsewhere, and I think he should. And I think that Dallas can protect themselves with a guy like Jake Ferguson. I've been getting in my Jake Ferguson bag a lot, and I like what I see. Joe, the hands are better than I thought. So if he can come in and pick up the playbook, and continue to grow and get better, I think Dallas will say, "Hey, man, Dalton, we love you, but we just can't." You just said it yourself, okay? Micah, Diggs, CD, because I just truthfully believe CD's gonna have a big year. You got some contracts that are coming down the pipe. You do.
Yeah.
You got free agency. You got to still team build. And I just don't see Dallas paying a tight end who's not special. Like, I love Dalton Schultz, Joe. You know that. You know how much I've been a fan of his. But I'm also objective. When anything we talk Cowboys, Joe, me and you are super objective. We're not fanboys, okay?
Yeah.
We don't – on these channels, we're not just going to blah, blah, blah your head off about how good the team is. And, no, if there's holes, we're going to speak on it. And Schultz is really good. He's just not special. He just doesn't do anything that really scares and threatens the defense. And I don't see Steven saying, we're going to throw you a bunch of money. Now, that'll give you a team-friendly situation. But if Schultz has, the Dolphins who want to pay you, or just any team, it could be the Giants, whoever wants to give you a boatload of money, hey, go get paid, man.
I'm 100% with you on that, Fritz, because I feel the same. You know what I mean? I'm a huge fan of Schultz. I'm one of the few people that's not blocked by him. On Twitter.
Me neither. I know.
Yeah, so I mean it's what it is. So I like him. I think Dak Prescott loves it. He's his escape hatch. So that's kind of where that might be the wild card for me as far as like does Dak have that sway where hey I want to keep Schultz here and let's have Ferguson here. maybe that's the key here to this thing where maybe he has that input. You know what I mean? These quarterbacks, they want a little bit of more of say so. You hear it all the time. Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, you know what I mean?
Oh
And
yeah,
it happens around the league. So maybe that happens. But when you talk about the Cowboys and the cap, how Stephen Jones is, you kind of just don't see it because just the way that the Stephen Jones handles some of these contracts, where maybe he already has it planned out where this is just gonna be a franchise tag, and we're gonna flip that money and invest it in pay. Maybe they pay Lamb early. You know what I
yeah,
mean? They do it all the time. Sometimes they don't exercise a 5th-year option around here. Let's pay you right now a whole bunch of money. They love doing this crap to us. But
Yeah.
it's good for the player, man. The players, they deserve it. The shelf life on these NFL players is very short. They gotta get the money, man. You know what I mean? And RIP to Marion Barber.
Yeah, rest in peace,
Why-
Marion. One of my
that's why I
favorite
say that,
athletes.
man, because they run you. They
Yeah,
run you to the ground, and you gotta get that money when it's your time. So, you know. That's what
yeah.
it is, guys. Foots, man, I appreciate you coming on here. We're talking about OTAs. We got minicamp coming up here as well.
What day? What day is minicamp? Because this is the last OTA today, right? They don't have it
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah, so you got the minicamp, I believe, is next week.
Okay.
I want to say the 13th or something like that. So right, it's right around the corner already. So getting right into it, guys. But thanks for checking us out tonight, guys. We really do appreciate you, Foots. Thank you so much, bro. I appreciate you for joining me tonight. Special guest, Foots the King with the Heat.
This is a good one, Joe. I'm gonna listen back.
Yes, sir. Let everybody know where they can find you, Foots, if they haven't already.
Man, Cowboys Nation TV. Me and Joe been at it for a long time, and I thank you. I want to shout out Big Tex Dallas, for basically just saying you guys are super objective. I love not working for a company because I can literally just get on here with Joe and say what I want, and nobody's gonna check me and it's true. Me and Joe are gonna give you the real. I'm not gonna fanboy. I just can't. I'd rather grow organically than do stuff like that. And what I'm not gonna do is tell you something is good when it's not. And so,
Yeah.
thank you, Joe, for having me.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is. And we appreciate all of our subscribers, guys. Make sure you pound that like button on your way out. Subscribe to my boy Foots if you haven't already. And we'll catch you for the next one, guys. Peace, everybody.
Peace.